Okay, it is 6 p.m., June 11th, 2025. I hereby call the regular meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission to order. The first order of business is number 2 is the Pledge of Allegiance. State flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Okay, is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak on an item, public forum? Okay, Cheryl.
Would you say item number what?
That would like to speak in open forum. Do you want to speak now or?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
My name is Cheryl Fox, and I live at 821 Stewart Street, and I am looking at item number 8, the special use permit for a fast food restaurant. The reason I was coming here is because next on the 24th there is going to be a public hearing. So I would really kind of like that whatever action y'all take, that y'all take no action, and let's kind of wait on that, because I know the feasibility study has been done, but I know that there has been no traffic impact. At least I haven't seen a traffic impact, and as far as I know, they haven't received permission from either Brewster's or from the feed store behind there to have any other access to anything. But I would request that y'all just have no action whatsoever on this. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Okay, we will go to item 3. Consideration and possible action on the election of vice chairman. So we had a Tom leave. He was the vice chairman, so now we need to elect a new vice chairman.
I have a question. We only have 4 people that are sitting here now. Do we have a potential 5th person coming?
Number 4, yeah.
When will that be taking place?
Right now, we have that as item number 5 for consideration of a board of director recommendation for appointment. If you're interested in that individual, if not, then that's going to depend on applicants that come in.
I would like to take into consideration that we vote on this person, and then we can all as a group vote for that vice chair.
So I have a meeting.
Yes. Can we go that long without a vice chair? Okay. So,
Okay,
that's my motion.
so table.
Table it.
Okay.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion to table the election of the vice chair until we have a full house. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion passes to table till we get everybody here. Item number 4, consideration of possible action regarding the board of directors.
In your packets is item number 4. In your packets is an application from Jeff Plasner in consideration for this position.
Is he
Is
here?
Jeff here? Would you like to speak?
Hi, I'm Jeff Glazer, and yes, I volunteered for this position because I've lived in the city for about 3 years. Prior law enforcement, very familiar with city council, fire departments that I work for. I've worked quite a bit hand in hand with city officials, city council members, city employees and such. And just wanted to do my part and help out with the city I live in.
Okay.
Where exactly is Jenny Lane?
It's right off College Street,
Okay.
across from the historic district.
Are you in this historic district?
No, we're just outside.
Have you ever been to our museum and know the area that is historical?
Yes.
And have you ever been with the Historical Society or anything like that?
No, it was my first time here when I was doing the tours a couple years ago, at Christmas time, when
Oh.
I went to the houses.
Okay.
I make a motion to nominate Jeff Glazer for recommendation for, would it be appointment
I second it.
to the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Okay, I have a motion and a second for the nomination of Jeff Glazer to the P&Z Commission. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Welcome aboard.
So what this means for the next step is that a resolution will go in front of council for, to approve the appointment for this position.
Thank you very much, appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
Okay, item number 5, update on a request for special use permit for the temporary construction sales trailer at the Hills of Town Creek, 325 South Rosemary Lane.
So on May 6th, if you all remember, you recommended approval for the special use permit for this temporary construction and sales trailer. On the 13th, the city council went ahead and called for the public hearing. It was supposed to be scheduled on June 10th, but on May 20th, before that public hearing, they did contact me and decided to cancel that request for special use permit. The model home was built in time, so the salespeople were able to use the model home, and the supervisor on site said that he wouldn't be using a trailer anyway, he uses his vehicle, so they decided not to have it.
Oh, great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So just no action? Okay, all righty. Item number 7, consideration and possible action regarding the follow-up documents submitted in support of the approved installation of a roof over the existing patio located at 14335 Liberty Street in the Historical Preservation District.
Yeah. We have meeting minutes first.
Pardon?
Item number 6, it's a copy of our meeting minutes
Oh, I'm sorry.
from May.
Let me back up, I'm sorry. Item number 6, consideration and possible action on the regular meeting minutes of May 6, 2025.
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from our May 6th Planning and Zoning Commission meeting.
I second that.
We have a motion and a second for the approval of the May 6, 2025 regular meeting minutes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Motion passes. Now, item number 7. Consideration and possible action regarding the follow-up documents submitted in support of the approved installation of a roof over the existing patio area located at 14335 Liberty Street in the Historical Preservation District.
So this is an update on what your requirements were on the approval for this location for that roof extension. I listed them out, the 6 items, and a follow-up on them. Number 1, that he would get his building and training permits, of course, before he starts. Number 2, the material specifications, I did attach that in your packet. You wanted the thickness to show that. Number 3, we'll verify that. Number 3, number 5, number 6, we'll verify that during the site inspections. And then number 4, he did update the front porch and closed the step up that used to be there.
And the roof decking he is using, that meets all the codes, standard building codes, and,
The building inspector has not reviewed that portion yet.
okay.
What we're waiting for is to see if you will be okay with what he's presenting, the type of material, the things.
Okay.
that kind of thing.
All right,
I move to hear from the building inspector
all right,
first before we make any final decisions, please.
okay. When do you think he'll be doing that?
The building inspector?
Yes.
As soon as I can ask him.
Okay, yeah. I just want to see what his thoughts are on that type of panel being used.
And the existing post, right? He's going to use
You want
these,
to verify the post?
Yes.
He'll be adding
Yeah.
and where he's going to have them?
Yeah,
because those have been there for however long, the weather's been
right.
affected.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that what the panels he is using is actual commercial construction grade panels.
You'll probably get a decision by the next
Okay,
commission meeting.
okay,
He's going to be asking for more specific plans and the plans that he submitted with Nancy. He'll ask for certified drawings.
oh, he will, okay, all right,
Thank you.
okay,
So do we want to table this?
yes,
Next meeting?
yes.
Can I get a motion for that?
I make a motion that we table this number 7.
I'll second.
Okay, we are going to table item number 7 until we get further information from the owner on and the building inspector's approval. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Number 7 has been pushed to a further date. We are going to skip item 8 at this time and move on to item 9. Number 9, consideration and possible action regarding the installation of 5 new building signs on a 4-wall and 1 hanging post located at 21012 Eva Street in the historical downtown district.
You all recall this location as to be occupied by Remax. I think they've cleaned a lot of the sides so you don't see any more of the Remax outline. The actual location that he wants on here are in the same Remax locations, but it will actually be a square rather than an outline of his business sign. And then there'll just be 2 new signs where there previously were not any signs. 2 of them on the east wall, and then 1 on the north wall. And you might have already seen the hanging post sign.
Yes.
Officer Taylor, my understanding is that this recommendation does not exceed any of the signage requirements, or limits, I should say. They're well below that limit.
I'm not quite sure if I appreciate the sign being that close to the sidewalk, and it also swings in the weather and it gets blown off quite often. I'm not liking the smaller sign that hangs out by the sidewalk. I'm not appreciating that as it's going into Montgomery. It's not as everything else that is in Montgomery. If you drive in, and everything that we have out there that I'm aware of is mostly stationary. Like it's either boxed into the ground, the sign is attached to the top and the sides.
Well, actually, this one is that Remax already had.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
post sign.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but I don't know who approved that sign, because I don't remember approving it.
that was
Yeah.
a long.
Yeah, a long, long time ago. I'm just saying, I want it on the record that I don't appreciate that in the historical district. I believe it needs to be more sound and a structure that's like the rest of the signs that are moving down 105 as you go west.
You're looking more like a monument.
Yes, type of, we asked the quilting place to do it, and we asked the other store down the road, right behind Your Mama's Barbecue. We asked for specifics for that as well. I understand it's pre-existing, But we're also doing a lot of changes into downtown Montgomery, and we want to make sure that we keep that preservation look as you travel west, because there's businesses coming west.
Also, Chairman Simpson had pointed out a few meetings ago that there is an exception in the historic district that we can't make them put in a monument sign in the historic
Yes,
district.
I know. We can make the suggestion.
Yeah.
And being in the historic district, you want to, I mean, it's only to the betterment of our community. Like you're wanting to bring people in, they're going to have to come past all those big box stores to get to us. And we want them, the people coming into Montgomery, to understand that it's historic and that it should be treated as such and looked as such.
I did put a note on there that for safety reasons, I am asking him if he will secure it. in
Yes.
some way, and he's very
Okay,
open to securing it.
okay, great.
I'll make a motion to approve the new signs at 21012 Eva Street with the caveat or request that the hanging post sign become a monument sign. Similar size. That'd be a request.
I have a motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve the five new signs at 21012, and with the request, but what did you say?
I'd say, yeah, request
Request to possibly change the swinging sign to
monument sign.
monument sign at some point in time. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed?
Okay, we have 3 ayes and 1 opposed. Motion passes. Let's see. Item number 10, consideration of possible action regarding a proposal to make improvements to a property located at 826 College Street in the Historical Preservation District.
We have 826 Forest Street, located in the residential zoning district and the historic preservation district. The property owner, the applicant here, Ms. Tiffany, she's proposing to make improvements to the existing single-family dwelling, and the property will be altered only in appearance of the exterior elements of that structure. So there'll be flat work, front porch, lighting, side deck, back screen with porch, a fence, within a fully fenced property, 2 single pergolas, gutters with rain barrels, some chimney work possibly occurring in phase 2. So you have a lot of the pictures of the proposal, a lot of examples of what she's looking at in the area, what's existing now. What I would be recommending is approval of those improvements as long as she gets her building and trade permits. It adheres to the Planning and Zoning Commission's approved design elements. And it says June 3rd because of our initial meeting. It's actually for today, June 11th. And then any new modifications would have to come back to the committee. But I do have the applicant here. If you'd like to speak with her and some specifics regarding what she's proposing.
Hi, I'm Tiffany. Nice to meet everyone. So I actually own the property next door to this property and have for the last 3 years. And I've become very attached to this community, and the previous owner of the property next door, her sister owned my original property. We became very good friends. She put a lot of work into that home over the last 25 years. When she purchased it, it was in disrepair. There were a lot of things she had wanted to do. I don't know if y'all are probably familiar with Miss Kate Highland. She's been in the community for a long time, and she shared a lot of the history of the home with me, and a lot of those things are what I took into the design element. We talked about this transition for the last 2 years. So what we put into that project was things to build on what she already did, restoring some of the things that were previously on the property, including a back chimney. Would be visible from the street, which is the historical element, and restoring that, I think, is kind of a special part of the project. There is an original jug cistern. We've consulted with a local Montgomery engineer to preserve that further ongoing. In our design plan, we actually want to protect it from people sitting on it or crawling on it. Obviously for safety reasons, but really for historical preservation. So everything that we took into the plan really is to enhance the aesthetics, not changing the structure of the front porch in any way. We really like that, and that front part of the home is original. As you know, the time went on, it was built on, it was originally the front porch and 2 rooms. That was built on, another room, and from what Ms. Kate has told me, in the late 1870s. And then the final portion of the kitchen was built on the early 1900s, and that's when the cook chimney was added. When Ms. Kate bought it, it was in disrepair of falling off. It did have a side deck, which actually was on the survey before I ordered the most current survey, and I want to put that back. So the majority of the yard is to the side of the property, and that's where that deck was. So I want to restore that portion and some of the other elements, and then adding to the garden and the roses and things like that, which is what I've done to the property next door. So that's my hope for the property, safety, preservation, and then adding to the aesthetic feel of the neighborhood as a whole.
First and foremost, I want to say thank you for the package you put together. Most of the items we received do not have the thoroughness that you went through, especially your dedication to preservation for this building and for the home there. I just wanted to show my appreciation, I'm sure the rest of the board's appreciation for your efforts. It's definitely witnessed to. The fencing, so you're pretty much just going to continue from your existing property across the front?
Yeah, neither property is fully fenced in. The Lone Star Estate behind me has the branch style fence, and it's already on 2 sides of my property, 824, and the back of 826. So what I would like to do is come up 826, and then there is a small portion of 826 front already existing. We're going to keep that, but it needs to be repainted and kind of refinished a little. So we're going to add some caps and add that, continue that across my 824 property, and the entire property will be fenced in. There's some dogs in the neighborhood, so I want to that's one part of it, but also I think that when you drive through the other homes that have the fence, it's just really appealing, so I want to continue that on that portion as well. And then the interior picket fence is really, I love to garden and grow vegetables, and I want like a farm style raised garden bed and sitting area, and that's really just kind of more decorative, a lower picket fence, but will enclose that garden area within the entire property.
So you want to continue with ranch style fencing
So.
and the height you said?
The exterior is already on, 3
Yes.
sides, essentially ranch style, so I figured, just enclosing that. But I do love like the picket fences that are in some of the other ones. My side of the street has ranch style, the opposite side that further
Yes.
down has the picket. So I kind of wanted to add that picket fence element within the property. You'll still be able to see it from the street. There's a couple neighbors that have finding roses on the fences, which I think is really attractive, so I'm a big rose fan. So I already have a ton planted and I want to continue that. But the goal of it is just to be, as aesthetically pleasing, but also functional to enclose that property just a little bit more than it is right now.
So you're asking for the improvements to be the ranch style fencing?
Exterior ranch style, interior picket fence.
Okay.
And that's what's currently at 826 in the front, is a 2 rail. We're gonna add just another board to keep the dogs out and put like little caps on it just to make it a little more decorative on the front. So it'll be, not quite ranch style, but not quite the picket. It'll have a little more decorative element, which will match more the homes on College Street rather than just the Lone Star Estate ones.
Did you include a picture of the fence?
So there is a picture of the front of the fence with a gate, a wrought iron gate that I found at the Montgomery Antique Festival that I'd like to enclose at the, or use at the front. And you can see the, you can see part of the fence there that's already there. And I can tell you which picture it is. Hold on, let's see.
I'm counting 4 boards. 1, 2, 3, 4.
On the back, there's 4 boards. On the front, I might actually not have included, you know what? I might-
Yeah, I don't see the front. I see the back because I know which fence you're talking about.
I think there was the adjacent property pictures might show, which is my property at 824, might show part of the property. Okay, yes.
Yes, please.
Thank you very much. Do the sheds or the shacks or she sheds or whatever you want to call those in the back, are those of a historic significance, or they
There's
just,
a barn that's not in the best shape, but I
Yes.
think it can be restored. We don't believe it has historical elements, but it kind of adds to the character. We believe it's from the 1980s. I have a friend that's a carpenter that was trying to look at the floorboards to make sure. The chicken coop was actually from another property within the historic district, but it's believed to be from about the 1950s. Miss Kylan, the previous owner, somebody was just gonna tear it down, and she was like, absolutely not, bring it over my property. So we love, it just adds so much more character. So that's gonna work into the design. So not truly part of your historical time frame within the historic district, but it's still ongoing, you know, it's in great shape, and it'll just add to the character.
and you'll do, is this part of the packet, that improvement to, or are you just suggesting to us? Like, I want to make sure what we're listening to for a possible action, we're just specifically, like, are we just talking fence now, or?
Well, the chicken coop is there. It's
Okay,
just
yes,
cute
yes.
to have it. There's a little door on the back and
Yeah.
there's a storage unit. Probably stage 3 will be to restore the barn, but it's not visible from the street. It just adds a lot of character on the property. And it's not historic, but it adds to the, you know.
So your stage 1, you're asking for stage 1.
Stage 1 is going to be the landscaping deck garden. Stage 2 is going to be, the back porch is not original. Miss Kay actually built it 23 years ago, screened it in. However, I would like to extend that by 10 feet. She has a sloping roof. It would need to be, I would like to make it pitched so that it matches the existing house. And that's where I would put back the chimney using like reclaimed or aged brick that would match the well. So we found some old brick on the property that we're going to use. We want to use like reclaimed and older materials where possible, and then restoring that element of the chimney on phase 2. So that, I do want to talk about that a little bit. I don't have all the quotes for that. I'm ready to go on all the landscaping. Once I get that done, then the phase 2 will be.
What phase is the well in?
So the well is in phase 1.
Okay,
I don't want to alter it, but I do want to preserve it.
Okay.
So on that, what I would like to do, we found some old brick on the property. I don't think it's as old as the well by any means, but it matches it. It doesn't have the same engraving. We would like to build a border around it so people don't crawl on it, you know, because it never fails. There's like a big old guy sitting on it or a kid crawling on it. Miss Kay has told me about that in the past. So we just wanted to maybe protect it in a more like aesthetically pleasing way, so that we could, you know, it would be within the garden, but have a protection so people don't actually crawl on it. I thought it would be kind of fun to put a little sign so when people come and visit, or if they do the school tours, that it would have like a little history tour or a little history plaque about it, but people can still see it. And then the ground up is in very good shape. The engineer that we had take a look at everything. It's been over the years, people have been, I mean, for however long, there's been things that when Miss Kay got it, she looked at all kinds of stuff. It's been recommended to us that with dirt, sand, and water to compact it, that you fill it in so it doesn't cave in. And then the part above the ground is still in really good shape, but just to prevent people from climbing on it.
it is historical though.
Yes, it is original to the front part of the house.
Is that something that the Historical Society needs to look into for the preservation when she's working on this with her building permits and stuff? Or is that just, no?
I will address it too.
Okay, all right.
So any ideas that we can do to prevent someone from calling out, that's kind of what we were trying to do, so I'm open to ideas. And trying to figure that out, but maintaining, being able to see it and enjoy it for everybody that's fine.
So around the vegetable garden, have you decided if it's going to be square or if it's going to have the caps? Decorative topping?
On the fence?
Yes, around your garden, inside your interior fencing.
Picket fence. So they're
Picket.
just- Yeah, they're just a little shorter. That's
Right.
actually on the exterior. So I would say probably about 3 feet on that. It's really more decorative, but I think it ties in with the other homes on the street as well.
Okay. And the brick columns for the gate?
So the idea was to, again, use some elements that match the well kind of time in the property. The opening of the existing gate is a little bit bigger than the normal walkway, or where the gate goes, bigger than what the gate actually is.
Right?
So the thought was if we put brick, about the same height as the existing, that we could mount the antique wrought iron gate that I found here in town.
Okay.
And then that would open and close properly, again, tying in a little bit of that aged brick look throughout the landscaping and hardscaping as well.
All right, so tonight we are here for stage 1, landscape, the deck, the garden, the well, wrenched off fence.
The gutters,
Oh, gutters.
and there is, so the property actually sits on a hill.
Yep.
Your front, when you're looking at the property front right corner, it's almost flush with the ground, and then it kind of comes a few inches to a foot. The back left corner is almost 4 feet off the ground. So there's a natural flow of the water that goes, diagonally across the property, and it's been advised to us through, multiple people, landscapers, engineering, foundation people, that if we do something to keep the natural flow of the water, but direct it around the house rather than under the house, it will preserve underneath from being washed away. There's a lot of erosion that happens, especially at years like this when we have so much rain. So you'll see a red arrow on that drawing.
Yes.
And basically that's just a dry creek. We use natural material that'll look really good at the property and just help that water go, still natural flow, not redirecting it, but just guiding it rather around the house rather than right under the house.
And so you have the property beside it, you've purchased this property, and then there's like a rolling soft ditch, and then there's a neighbor beside you.
On the 826,
Yes,
so there is at the front of the property, so everything kind of flows diagonally to the back.
yes.
There is, towards the front, there is a little bit of a hill, so the water doesn't go towards the neighbor directly, it all goes kind of diagonal to the back anyways. So we would in no way be redirecting that, just preserving the foundation of the existing property.
And Tilly, when she submits these plans for someone to come out and look at the building, how the water's flowing, that's through the city approval from somebody that she's hiring to do this, to make the water flow and lifting of the house and going from underneath the house to the outside of the house. Is that part of that building permit?
No, we don't need to, yeah, so we don't need to do all that, it's just the simple, it kind of goes that way anyways, so, and it gets a little wet in the backyard too, so it's two reasons why.
Right.
One, just doing that, but also so that you don't just walk around.
We just want to make sure that the correspondence between the existing neighbors and what's exactly going to happen, because there's somebody else on that road that's doing construction to their home as well. So there's a lot of construction on that road, and also too, that small street is not the best street in Montgomery. So the increase in the traffic that's going down there, so
There's a natural, like you can go right at the part of the street where it drops significantly. And even the elevation change from my original property to the new one, it looks like it's similar, but then when you're on the property, you notice how much it drops. So we wouldn't be redirecting the water, but kind of some things you don't walk through the mud kind of thing, you know, dry river, I've been talking about putting like a little bridge over it.
Okay.
If you didn't want to walk, or a flagstone or something like that. So, kind of the hardscaping, so you don't have a mud problem right there, right? But then also it just kind of brings it to the back. It would still end up in the same exact spot. It wouldn't cause any more water, you know, for any other neighbors. We wouldn't be touching the property, and that would just be part of the hardscaping, landscaping package. Yes.
Okay, and Tilly's going to tell us about building permits
Okay.
and what you're planning on doing.
As long as there is no increase in drainage into the area. So
Okay.
she's doing gutters. The gutters are going into rain barrels. I don't know if you've already looked at possible rain barrels and how that's going to work. But as long as there is no increase in flow, the water is being redirected around the house, but it's not increasing the amount of water that's draining out to the back corner.
And that's a good point with the rain barrels. So the point of that is to catch some of the rain. We don't need to put, we do want like a small amount of, like a small sprinkler system that's on the package at the very front for the gardens and the trees and things like that. But the rest of the vegetable garden, it's all going to be like on a drip system timer, and we can use that water also from the rain barrels to recycle it. So we're actually going to take, by putting the gutters in the rain barrels, we're actually going to take water from the property that we can use in other ways. I've done that before, my family's done that before, and it works out really well.
So are you going to be planning on any tree removal or bush removal or flower removal that's existing?
So there is one dead tree right by the, I hate taking trees down, but I had someone out there looking at it. There's one dead tree, one or two dead trees right by the chicken coop, but those are smaller. I did recently notice with all the storms we've had, there is a tree very close to the house, like within a foot or two. In the back corner, you can't see like the trunk of it from the street, but it has been dropping very large branches, and it has wart disease. And I've had that before, and it eats the tree from the inside out. So I am going to have someone look at that tree. That tree may have to come down just because of disease, and then the other just because of not being healthy. There's no other tree that I want.
Is it stage 1 or stage 2 that you plan on getting the feasibility of keeping or removing the tree?
It would be stage 1.
Okay.
Because the dead trees are in the garden area, and they're not very big around in circumference. And the large one in the back is really beautiful, but it's dropping very large branches on the house, and it's the one that has wart disease. So even though I wouldn't need to remove that for any gardening or landscape or anything I'm doing, and the safety of the house is a concern, and I've had that before where I planted a tree and then it came down in the storm, so I don't want that to happen. So there is a possibility that that one's going to have to come. I don't know if you're familiar with wart disease. It causes very large nodules on the tree limbs, and it eats it from the inside out, causing the tree to not be as structurally sound. And I've learned that hard way. So recently I realized that about that.
When do you plan on starting, you think?
Immediately. We're very excited.
Where do you plan to put the 2 single pergolas?
Okay, so there are two smaller swings on front porch. They're not original. Front porch ceiling is very tall, so they're almost, the chains aren't long enough, so they're almost too tall for the porch to sit on. So the thought is that I take those and I pull it out into the yard. There's a really beautiful tree that is healthy. I was going to plant flower beds on either side of the tree, and in front of those flower beds, put just one single arbor pergola that the swings can hang from. So it won't be a massive structure. It'll match, I'll paint it white to match the fence and the house. But just thought that was kind of a fun idea to move, kind of give you a sitting area out in the yard. And the picture that I found, that was my inspiration picture, is black, but it would be white to match what's already there.
Okay. Chris, is there anything you need to see for crushed gravel expansion? It's all good?
No, it's the property.
Just
And I do have a picture called the
What color's the gutters?
White to match the house, the roof is metal, but it's a very light metal silver color, so I thought white would be the best.
Sunroom is, what stage 2?
Stage 2, but
All
I
right.
just wanted to kind of get your ideas and thoughts to make sure I plan that accordingly.
I mean, an improvement is great, you know, as long as it's approved and it's building permit, it's within the guidelines of the historic district.
Okay, and I'll submit that once I get the quotes and all the dimensions and all of that for that.
It's a lot. Phase 1. Okay, I'm going to make a motion that we approve stage 1 for landscaping, the deck. Oh, yeah, the deck, 2 level?
So because of the height,
Yep,
we wanted to, there was a previous deck, 1 level, even with the house.
Yes.
It just kind of makes it hard because there's so many steps that need to go down, so we wanted to have that 1 level expanded a little bit. Use some cedar that will age to do planter boxes as our railing, so it'll be more aesthetically appealing for the neighbors as well. Small rail for the steps, and then a lower level deck that'll have the wraparound step. So it'll just be a little bit easier to walk without so many steps in a row.
Is your property accessible and ready for the movement of all the vehicles, landscaping, and all the traffic that's going to be going on, especially on College Street and in your yard? Is it going to be?
They can park, part of that too, one more thing I'll add to it, they can park in the existing limestone driveway, however, that's mostly washed away, so that's part of the expansion. But I do encourage them to park like in the grass. There's a portion at the front along the fence that we're not really doing anything, it's just stained grass. So they can park on my street. I'm very sensitive to that because I own the property next door. When I have friends, I'm like, park in the grass so we don't bother the neighbors. So I've got both the grass on 824 and 826 that they can park and just try to stay off the street as much as possible.
Okay, I'm going to make a motion for stage 1, gutters, white, rain barrels, as long as there's no increase in water. Your landscaping, the 2-tier deck that's going to be cedar, the garden improvement, the ranch style fence, the 2 rail in the front, you're going to add 1 to the bottom. The rail, you're going to put like a garter area around it, similar stone to keep it within the historic look. The interior picket's going to be about 3 feet tall, and you're going to get information about the tree removal.
Yes.
And that's everything, and what we're going to say yes or no to tonight, stage 1,
The rocks around the back, the dry river bed.
which is landscaping.
Yeah, all the
Hard
landscaping.
landscaping,
And
yeah.
the planter boxes are cedar, just to clarify, the deck itself will be treated, weather treated wood, only because the cost of cedar is very expensive. I submitted the stain color too for the deck and tried to pick something that would look really natural to add to that as well.
I make a motion that we approve stage 1, the list that we just read off. I would like information on the tree removal, what your I think you mentioned 2. Just-
2 dead, 1 deceased.
Yeah, just to make sure that that's what's happening and needs to happen to those trees
Absolutely.
before they cut the trees. Because around here, they cut trees at night, and you wake up and drive to work at 5:30 in the morning, and the tree is gone. So that is very pretty down in there.
I agree.
I
I
make-
always cut any tree that I don't have to. In fact, I've planted more trees too, so.
I make a motion to approve stage 1 as listed above.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second for the approval of the proposed improvements at the property located at 826 College Street in the Historical Preservation District. Items listed by Marion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Ayes have it, unanimous. Number 11.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Consideration and possible action on the variance request related to the required utility easement and vegetation setback for the HEB development, number 2402.
Good evening.
Evening.
In your packet, sir, on page 64, you'll see a letter from us regarding the requested variances, followed by a copy of the letter from HEB on those variances, and an exhibit, and then finally, in front of you, we handed out another similar exhibit, just aerial, because there's a lot of pieces to this, so you can see what's going on. That's better than just the black and white picture that you have in the packets. So there's three real kind of main items that are being requested. Two are a variance. The third one is more of just a notice. It is not a specific rule. It's just a clarification that they wanted to make sure was aware. So let me get that one first, because that one's, check it off the list. So on their parking lot trees, again, this is for the HB development. For their parking lot tree requirement, what they are requesting is to keep all trees 150 feet away from the doors for sanitation. So they've had issues, obviously, with a lot of HBs. This isn't the first rodeo, and trees within 150 feet causes an issue with birds, with the building, and people coming out. So that's their request. So your rules don't specifically say they have to be there. It has, your rules say about the amount of canopy coverage, that parking spaces need to be within 125 feet of a tree trunk, but there's no rule against them having it 150 feet away. They can still likely meet all the other rules. So that's that one. The other two, and I'll the HPs here as well, I'll run through the items and kind of what they're requesting and the reasons why. I will let Bill join as well, kind of give kind of the reasons for the request, what they're trying to obtain, and then probably answer any questions and things that you have from it. So the first item that they're requesting is do not buy a 16-foot utility easement along 105. So if you look on the exhibit in your packet as well as the aerial that I handed out, you'll see the rough location of their proposed utilities to serve the property that they are putting in at their cost. So they are designing and constructing those. They're not requesting any type of reimbursement for the city for those utilities. And they are requesting that those remain in TxDOT right away versus within an easement on their property. The reasons for that is between their proposing retaining walls. As y'all know, there's a lot of elevation across that property. So they have retaining walls planned, and obviously we want utilities not to be under or impacted by the retaining walls. So that is a large portion of the request. Our main concern with that is obviously utilities in TxDOT right away. If TxDOT requires you to move them in the future, it's your expense to do so. If TxDOT comes in and says they need to acquire what is an easement, and they have to move those, TxDOT will pay for that relocation as part. So the city is currently dealing with this right out here for the 105 project on this end. Now, obviously, the size of 105 and the size of the right-of-way is very different right outside City Hall versus the HB property. So what you'll see on that exhibit, and these are rough sketches, so just, again, trying to set scale here. Where the proposed utilities are between 80, 90 feet off of the existing area. So that is a lot of additional lanes and improvements that would have to be made in order for them to be in conflict. But tax still means something could happen, though unlikely it would be the city's cost of relocation. So that's why our preference is always to put them in easements, especially when it's not city right away. This. Again, there's a long way off the average pavement, so the life is relatively low. Next item on there is regarding the minimum landscape setback on the back of the property. So again, I'll direct your attention to the aerial exhibit. So if you look at the southern boundary of the property where they back up to the neighborhood, that neighborhood is not within the city limits. But again, it is single family use property. And so they're requesting a variance to go from the 25-foot required setback to a 20-foot setback. And the reason being is, again, back to the retaining walls and to the elevation of the property, they have to put in retaining walls along the back. And that retaining wall, they need that additional space to be able to make their site work. And you'll see in your packets a copy of their site plan that lays that out. So with that, I'll have each of you kind of jump in. They can give an overview and provide more detail on the why on these two items, and then ask questions.
I want to ask you a question. Not too long ago, that subdivision came to us
Correct.
because of whatever was going to go on the other end, and they were going to try to come through their property. And they had mentioned that maybe they wanted to become a part of Montgomery. Where did that go?
My understanding
No.
is there was no real action. They were given some tasks to come back with, and then it was in their court and it died there.
And on all kind of projects, we usually send out a letter to the nearest people that are in, and because they're not in the city limits, they're not going to get a letter that HEB is going to request 20 instead of 25, and there's going to be
So I believe
retaining walls up behind their subdivision.
They're not requesting any type. Typically, those notification letters go out for rezonings. For variances, have we been sending out? I don't think there's not a notification requirement. It will be obviously on the agenda. I know just through a records request, the property owners are aware of this development. I think most everyone
Yes.
in the area is aware that HB is on the property, is planning to develop it. I don't think it's a secret. But there is not a notification requirement. And in the event that there was, would you have to notify outside the city if it's not, if it was a rezoning?
I just want to make sure, because they've already come to us once about circumstances, and I just, I don't want to be blindsided after we say yes or no to something, and then they come in and poor pitiful me, they won't be able to have whatever it is that they would like to be behind their homes.
For sure. Well, with that, I'll have them answer any questions, and kind of give you an overview, and answer questions on that.
Good afternoon, my name is Hector Leon, I'm the consultant for HEB, engineering consultant for HEB in this project. If you guys have any questions for us, just to add a little bit more on that, setback on the back, as Chris mentioned, there's a lot of fall in this property, so the store will be below where the houses are. The houses have a fence on their back, and HEB is proposing to also add a fence there. And if needed, we have some type of plantings. Now, large trees will be challenging just because they're going to be above grade. And then with the wall, they can compromise the wall, could get dangerous. But as far as shrubing or then the fence would be installed, so there will not be any visibility from those houses into the HEB, even by reducing that. And I'm confident, we only need the 5 feet to make this layout work. But even if we were to go more, I don't think there won't be a visible, any type of visible line of sight, I guess, from those houses to the HEB.
The only reason I bring it up is because our trees are old. They're big, they're beautiful. I understand you lay cement, you lay a wall, the trees, I understand. I'll just bring that up because it will come back to us. So I have to say it first, and then they'll come back and we'll read the minutes that the question was asked. So you're answering it for
I
us.
really appreciate that. If I can
Yeah.
clarify that
Yeah.
for you all.
So the fence will be built above the retaining wall.
So the houses have the fence in the back, yeah, and then there's a gap between their property and where the
Right.
retaining wall will go. We'll work with city staff to see what the safest way is to put a fence there. As you may imagine, if we do a double pole fence, we create this corridor, which might not be ideal. So we're open to what you guys would like to do to facilitate that. Again, I don't know if a double fence really will make a difference, but if it will be on everybody's best interest to put a fence, we would. It's just the factor of creating that little corridor there, maybe,
Right.
I don't know.
Is that the backside? Is that the backside where the big 18-wheelers will come in and unload? Yeah.
So to answer the first question, so it's part of the visual barrier ordinance.
Yes,
So
yes.
you're required to have either a fence for
Vegetation, okay.
And so that's kind of this piece that they're, and they're not requesting variance from that, it's just the depth of that setback.
Oh, okay.
Correct, so we'll provide the vegetation of visual barrier as needed to follow that ordinance. So that will meet that part of the ordinance. The request is just to reduce that a little bit. And as you guys can see on our site plan, with all the flow that we have on the property, we essentially have retaining walls almost all around our site, right? In a way, a lot of retaining walls, but sometimes we need to just do it to make it work, so.
What's the maximum height of that retaining wall?
I
along
think
that
it's
backside?
tallest, without having the plan in front of me, so maybe
Yeah,
there's
sorry.
a lot of wall, but I want to say it gets close to 15, 16 feet on a little portion of it. And then as you can see on the plan, it's historic one for the site,
Yeah.
the papers did the years
Kind of
ago.
goes down.
So that hill, like where the top of that hill is right behind the store, and then it's just kind of starts
Kind of
going up,
crowns.
right? So the tallest point is right behind the store. The other main reason why we need that, and then it goes into also the 16 feet at the front, is to be able to try to keep the truck traffic as best we can on the back of the store and not make those trucks interact with the customers. That's a very important thing for HEB, that's a safety reason, and having those extra 16 feet at the front and the 5 feet at the back provides enough area to not just be able to have enough parking that we need. As you guys know, HEB needs a lot of parking, but two, to be able to provide enough spacing for the trucks so they have a clear in and out all in the back. Because if not, they need to start coming in, then they're going to try to start exiting towards 1-5, coming in the front. And
So you're saying they're going to come in 2854?
the idea is that the trucks are going to be coming in 2854, use the loading up there, and with this extra space we're asking, they'll be able to essentially turn around on that same area and exit the same way.
2854, so the impact is not on 105 for a big 18-wheeler?
Correct, there's no.
Because that turning zone right there, right now where we're at, I don't think an 18-wheeler is going to be pleased with
And
that.
just for y'all's reference, we're also working with TechSouth, so there will be improvements done to 2054 to allocate the level of traffic that will be needed for the development.
All right. So do you own both those properties? The whole 30 acres or just that 15
No,
acres?
HEB owns, if you guys, yeah, so like you see in red,
Yes,
the aerial,
is
that is
HEB.
the portion that HEB owns.
Okay.
The portion in yellowish color, it's a different one.
Okay. And how many entrances are you going to have right there at that intersection? Because that's a gas station right there, right?
You mean, oh, yes, ma'am. So there's going to be 3 driveways, and we're working with TechSouth, right, so we need to get all the permits for spacing going on through TechSouth. But right now, we're proposing 3 of the 2054 and 1 on 105. Okay, there's a lot of traffic that comes in and out of this first, we want to make sure everybody gets in and out.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering is, because everyone wants to go to HEB, but they put those medians in there. So now you'll have to come up 105 and turn left onto 2854 if you're coming from that end of Montgomery. And then you're okay if you're coming east on 105.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
The proximity of the light, there's no room for us to be
Right.
able to create that left
Right.
turn on 105 safely.
Yeah.
And, yeah, it's,
I mean, we've all seen the HEBs. The one in Magnolia is pretty, the one right there in Conroe, whatever. I mean, bless you. I've never seen it where it's been unattractive. I'm just wondering, that sure is a nice little corner right there. That gas station's going on, and I'm just wondering, I'm trying to picture it in my mind, you turning into there to get gas. If it's kind of like the Kroger, set back off the highway and,
The hard, and just for clear, the hard corner is not part of the HEB. So
Thank you.
The hard corner will be, the HEB doesn't control that corner.
okay,
We have had talks with that developer that has been very high level.
okay.
So,
That's what I'm trying to picture in my mind is the traffic, that hard corner, and I'm like trying to visualize how we're going to fit that gas station in there and all that. Okay.
I make a motion that we approve, that we recommend approval to city council on the variances related to section 7892 and section 162 for the HB development.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for the approval to City Council for the variances requested by HED Development, Section 98, 78, 92, and 78, 162. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion passes. Item number 12, consideration and possible.
Thank you.
Consideration and possible action on the acceptance of the biannual water and wastewater.
All right. So if you remember the last meeting, we discussed the land use assumptions. So what how many connections were the developments coming from within the city? Obviously, as you all can tell, and as council can tell, there's the pace of development is continuing to pick up. There's a lot of interest in the city. I think at the last council meeting, we talked to them about 20-ish pre-development meetings that had occurred in the past 30 days, 30, 45 days, and that's, not counting all the stuff that's already in the works. So there's a lot of development going on in the city. All that being said, that obviously increases the timing for improvements, and so that pulls some of these projects up sooner in order to continue to meet those capacity needs. And obviously, we're also at a time where pricing is all over the place. It changes by the day, and so upping the prices of those planned improvements to keep up with the growing cost of completing those projects. So in your packets, you'll see a copy of a summary of that, along with a bunch of additional fact information. So all this is based off the next 10 years projections. So between now and 2035, what do we need? What are the water and wastewater improvements in order to meet the continued growth in the city? When you add all that up, so we added in the additional connections and service units. Those didn't change drastically, as we had some that were assumed higher originally that came in actually lower, and then we had the new annexations that pretty well balanced themselves out. But the cost did drastically increase on those projects. And a lot of that is also we're bringing in, where the last round of impact fees was the first phase of the wastewater plant. This is now bringing in that second phase of the wastewater plant in order to meet the need. So the total capital improvement costs between your water and wastewater projects is roughly $60 million between those two. So it's 26 for water improvements, 24 for sewer improvements.
Can I ask you a question on that? When you say recoverable, I just want to be specific. What do you mean by that?
So how impact fees are set up is you can only account for costs directly associated with increasing capacity. So some of these projects include replacements, rehabilitations, things like that, components that pull that down. There's also a component that you can only capture up to 50% of the total cost. And so there's a big spreadsheet behind this that balances it all out. And so you can't capture, so let's use water plant number 2, for example. Replacement of the ground storage tank that failed, you cannot use impact fee dollars. If we increase the size of that ground storage tank, we can cover that delta with impact fees. Okay. Replacing the failed water well doesn't work, but the failed water well is 300 GPM. The new one's got to be, right now, the preliminary testing did at 600, 700 GPM, so we can pay that pro rata share because of the increased capacity of those facilities.
Thank you.
Sure. So when you're going through, again, this package, you have a list of all the projects and what they include, followed by a bunch of exhibits showing where all these improvements are. They include water line loops, additional water line and sewer upsizings, water plant number 4, additional improvements at water plant number 3, and then the wastewater plant at Town Creek and improvements to the Stewart Creek wastewater plant. A lot of these projects, there are some that are in process, so some that are part of development agreements to get done, and as those continue, those will get taken out of the calculation depending on how they're paid for. So when the MISD, for example, did the water line along their property with the CTE Center, that whole project was on the impact fee list. The city's contribution to that project was $75,000, so what we're calculating is basically what is the city paying for those improvements. On the other side of that, Redbird Meadows, now Riley, put in the water line loop along with Tannersville. that was on the impact fee list. That is going to stay on this calculation because the city is reimbursing the impact fees against that cost. So that is a cost to the city, therefore it stays and carries on with the calculation of fees. So overall, when you add it all up, and I'm not going to go into as much detail as you'll want, when you plug in the updated cost of everything else, you're looking at about a 17% increase in the impact fees across the board between the different sites. So for a single-family residential connection, it goes from $39.80 for your maximum assessable impact fee to $47.80 on a single family for new development. So again, a couple things that I'll kind of just point out on impact fees. These are for new developments, so this is not, as doesn't apply to already platted neighborhoods. As the impact fees are assessed at the time of platting, and per ordinance that are due at the time of connection. So if Hills of Town Creek, Section 5, for example, is already in platted development, these impact fee increases won't affect an already platted ongoing development. So it gives that consistency to the builder. But if someone comes in after these impact increases are adopted, and there's a waiting period, after that time, it would be subject to. So process-wise, obviously there is a recommendation from y'all as the Planning and Zoning Commission has also acted as the Capital Impact Advisory Committee. This is your Capital Impact Advisory Committee Act. Recommendation of the changes. This then will have to go to council. There will be a hearing, and it will go through the process there. So this isn't an immediate change. This is a multi-step process. And per your ordinance and per the rules, we do this review twice a year. So we could do this, continue to make updates with development changes and cost changes per to stay on top.
So you're saying that's a 17% increase is what you're going to take to city council for them to approve this after we make the recommendation?
Yes, ma'am. That is the recommendation.
Is there an alternative or anything, or is this is what we got and this is what we have to submit to city council, or is there something that we can come back with, or, not that I would be an expert at it,
Yeah,
but.
for sure. I mean, we can definitely, we can set this up. I think what would be beneficial if we want to dive in is more of a workshop format and
Yeah.
dive into the actual details of what is in here, because it is a lot of information to try to consume.
I thought city council did something on, didn't they have a special meeting on Monday to go over some stuff?
So,
Was that included?
last week, special meeting was talking about funding of the current projects.
Okay.
So, talking through water and sewer rates and tax rate and other items to be able to issue bonds to be able to fund our COs.
Was this part of the figuration that was
So
submitted to them?
the use of, so what the city is trying to do and considering is, one thing they've been able to use impact fee for is the payment of debt.
Okay,
And so with the, because, obviously collecting impact fees, you're collecting it as the developments are here, not, in advance. And so the ability to sell debt and use your impact fees to pay off that debt, to minimize the impact on tax rates, to minimize the impact on water and sewer rates, and use those impact fees to pay for that. Financial advisor, based on kind of some preliminary assumptions of the cost, it can cover a good chunk of years of debt payments without any growth with through impact fees. And so that's, I think, what I took away is council's kind of direction is wanting to be able to use these impact fees to pay for the debt in order to complete these projects and not cash flow waiting on these impact fees as much as possible.
Yeah, my main fear, with the amount of projects that remain and the demand that's coming, meeting the demand with the, I know we have contingencies and all that, but we're already at, I mean, you're saying in Conway with the moratorium that they have on development. That's my fear. We get us getting to that point.
For sure, there is a lot of growth, there's a lot of demand. And we constantly update projections and timing and look at build outs and when things are going to hit. So last night at council, they authorized the design of the water plant number 4, so that project is officially kicked off in design. The design of the wastewater plant is been in design for a couple months now. That should be done later, early this fall, to start getting that project into this year to get that construction underway. And so, yeah, it is it's ongoing.
It's gonna be a challenge.
And also, it's, you know, a lot of these projects that are on here, and I'll use another one as an example, is the water line loops along Buffalo Springs. That's part of the development agreement with PCS Capital folks, those part of the committee that we all saw as well. So they will fund those improvements. There is a payback period through those, but again, finding ways to have development put up upfront capital to provide these improvements and versus city capital.
So did anything change about 6 months ago when we looked at this? Did anything change in your process from, because we looked at all the charts, everything last time. Has anything changed in that
Same as
process?
that charge is just the timing. And that's what the big driver is on this, is it pulled up plant projects that were sitting past this 10-year period up. You know, just with the rate and the amount of developments that are approaching the city. And that's the biggest driver, because it is a large increase. And the biggest driver in that is pulling those projects that were sitting past that 10-year period up into that 10-year period instead.
I'll make a motion that we recommend approval to the city council on the update, let me get this correct, on the acceptance of the biannual water and wastewater impact fees.
I second it.
We have a motion, a second, for the approval to the city council for the biannual water and wastewater impact fees. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
Number 13, presentation regarding the MEDC wayfinding project in the Historical Preservation District.
Okay, I'm sure you've all heard about the wayfinding project in the last few years. This kind of brings it up front to you so that you can see what's going to happen in the Historic Preservation District. The type of signs that are being proposed, the location of the signs. I don't know if you were able to follow that map, and I tried to highlight everything to make it easy for you to follow it. So the first page is the all-encompassing city of Montgomery and how they're sectioning it out for certain signs. You'll see that the historic district is in the sign SL.08 sheet. And then from there, you'll see the location. So you'll see something like location number 119, where I highlighted that. And you'll look at the map and you'll see where 119 is located on here. Right at Clever and Liberty Street. So it'll be facing Liberty Street just south of Clever. And if you look at that, it says VDIR dot 3. You'll go to the next section and it'll show you what VDIR dot 3 is and what it looks like. And then the very last section of that is the portion where staff has to make comments and ensure that what is listed on that sign is how we want it to read. So that is the kind of quick update on what's going on in the Historic Preservation District. Of course, a lot of the timing for the signs on McCowan will have to work with the street redesign for downtown.
Yeah. Just going to ask how that's going to work.
Yes, yes. We don't want to put it in, and then it has to be removed because the sewer and water has to be put in, or the brick pavers, whatever else is going in there, the raised platforms, all of that. So, go time that out.
Is this going along with the design of our grand picture of how we vision Montgomery to look? Is it part of that vision, or is it an individual vision for the historic?
I think it's been an individual vision
Okay.
at the time when this started,
Mhm.
because I looked at the design, downtown master plan
Yes.
design, and I don't know that it matches that much, but they all are consistent throughout the city.
And they will be putting, it will be like for the houses that are historic, the areas that are historic?
It will point out.
That's what they're-
historic cemeteries.
Okay.
it'll-
So that when we're doing-
Parks are
okay.
located, yes.
All right.
What is the cost of this plan?
Well, it's in 3 phases. The fabrication and installation is approximately $1 million for all 3 phases. I think the first phase is about $500,000. And that first phase includes the downtown historic district for the signs. Again, that's fabrication and installation.
Is that including our sewer covers or just signs?
Just signs.
All right.
Just signs. It'll be the welcome sign. It does not include the electronic message board. But there's a couple of marketing signs for.
You know, this is not the first time that this plan has been tried to put something together to lead people about the city in some fashion as is. It just floors me that we're going to spend $1.5 million and we can't repair the streets those signs are going to go on.
Or the sidewalks that you need to walk up.
I mean, it is absolute, sounds insane to me. But, you know, $1.5 million wouldn't even start to fix the street problems we have. And we're gonna put a sign up on it.
The funding for this is coming from the MEDC budget, which is kind of the development, the economic development of the city.
I understand where the money's coming from.
I think the overall look is well within the historical nature of downtown Montgomery. There's no action on the side, correct? There's no action that's needed from planning and zoning guys.
I just want to make sure that you're all informed about what's going to happen in the historic district.
And we're in charge of the maintenance. If it gets knocked down, or if it gets busted, or gets changed, or whatever.
But in the areas of the county and the TxDOT right of way, they're also reviewing this to make sure that it meets their requirements of how it's installed, its location from the roadway, all of that.
Okay.
How easy is it on these signs to change the letter if needed down the road?
It would just have to go
New-
back to
new
a
sign?
validator and get it redone. Are you?
Nothing is specific, no, nothing is specific, just something changes downtown, different direction, this or that.
It'll be the general language when they're pointing out the
Yeah.
location of restaurants.
That's what I saw.
And who is your vendor that you're going to be getting the fabrication and the creation of this?
Right now, we are looking towards Sourcewell and, buy board to see what vendors we can have. Right now, I have one vendor and I'm waiting for a quote from that vendor. Hopefully, I can get 2 more vendors and see what kind of quotes we can get.
Because once you get the screen print down, that's half the battle right there. The cost of doing something again is not as severe as the first time around once they get it set, if it's just a minor change after that. So if we could locate that vendor that has good standing and has history and, you know, is going to be here in 3 years or 5 years or possibly just 2 years, to make sure that if there is damage or a change, we don't have to start all over just to get the sign redone. That's a consideration.
The vendor list that I'm staying with is in Southeast Texas.
Okay.
So closely we can get to Montgomery would be great. Sorry, there isn't one in Montgomery.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
We will move on to item 14. Planning and Zoning Commission will meet in closed session pursuant to the provisions of Chapter 551 of the Texas Settlement Code in accordance with the authority contained in A, Section 551.071, consult with the attorney regarding the request for a special use permit for a fast food restaurant with drive-in service. So we will convene to closed session at 7:21. And I would like to, so we all have us here, minus vacant, Chief Solomon, Allen, and I also would like Officer Tilley and Ruby to accompany us in the meeting. Okay. Okay, let's see if I can get this right. Okay, the time is 7:41 PM. Going back into open session, Planning and Zoning Commission will reconvene in open session, at which time action on the matters discussed in the closed session may be considered. A, Section 551.071, consultation with attorney regarding a request for special use permit for fast food, restaurant, and drive-through service.
I make a motion that we recommend denial to the city council.
No, this one is a no action.
Oh.
Then we go to item number 8.
Okay, sorry.
Okay.
I jumped ahead.
Okay.
I thought he was here.
I'm sorry. This is all new to me.
I wrote all over mine.
Oh,
Want this?
I just need that piece of paper.
Here it is right here, but I wrote all over it, number 8. There we go.
Number 8, going back to item number 8, consideration and possible action regarding a request for a special use permit for a fast food restaurant with drive-through service at 21049 Eva Street.
I'll make sure I get this right. I recommend denial of the request regarding a request for a special use permit for a fast food restaurant with drive-through service at 21049 Eva Street due to the lack of traffic impact analysis documentation that was requested at the Planning and Zoning Commission April 2025 meeting, and not in compliance, in our opinion, of the 2020 comprehension plan of Montgomery, Texas.
I second it.
I have a motion and a second for the
Denial.
denial to the city council for the special use permit for the fast food restaurant, drive-through restaurant at 21049 Eva Street, as per listed items. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion passes. Okay. Let's use your appeal. Is there any commission inquiry at all?
Yes. I'll bring up 2 things. The garbage is still not enclosed or covered, it's just out on the main street, and in behind businesses. We had talked about it several times about possibly having a 3-sided cover for it. And number 2 is probably not going to be welcomed very much, but the parking on 149, right in front of all the restaurants and all the shops and stuff, I believe that maybe it's against TxDOT or Highway Patrol or for that parking area there where people park. Instead of it being just open where people can freely walk and walk on the sidewalks and stuff. It just gets congested. It'd be different if there was parking spots and everyone can park in a certain area, but it just looks haphazard parking along the street on both sides going in both directions. I don't know how to get it. I don't know if it's a police thing. I don't know if it's a inquiry as to who can park there and who can't park there and why they're parking on the street.
You'd have to see if they're parking people first.
Okay?
If that's not the case, then.
Can't do anything about it. How do we find out if it's illegal or not to park that
Well,
way?
depending on where they park and which direction they're
Do we have to ask the city or do we ask Department of Public's?
facing. We'll take a look at it. Is there a specific time you're talking about?
Well, they're just all the time. Like,
The weekend, the
Yes.
weekends is when it mostly is crowded. Starting
Yes.
about Friday night around 6 o'clock.
and it gets really dark.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really dark and they park and people use their golf carts to park kind of crooked, and then their cars are parked. It's just, it's not safe at nighttime, yes.
I've come through there several times during that time of night, or late at night. I'll agree with you being unsafe, but unsafe doesn't always mean.
Yes, if it's legal or not. So I'm just bringing it up because it's unsafe and unsightly, and there should be other parking spots somewhere.
Okay. Anything else? That it?
Good job.
Okay.
That's it. I'll make a motion for adjournment.
A second.
I have a motion and a second for the adjournment of the Wednesday, June 11th P&Z meeting at 7:47. We done?
I'll abstain.
Hmm?
Do we need to vote?
No, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion passes.
All right.
Sorry about that.
There's a lot going on.